I have with me Mrs. Hanson Lomotey. I would like her to introduce herself and then give us a brief description of Saskatoon, her journey to Saskatoon, and the reason why to Saskatoon.
Thank you, Amos. Appreciate it. Viewers, my name is Mrs. Hanson Lomotey, as Amos said, and I've been in Saskatoon closely over 2 years, and I came here to pursue a master's degree in public administration, and I have completed the program successfully, thanks to God. And I now work with the Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Corrections and Policing as an implementation specialist. So so back to his question on why I came to Saskatoon. The ideal answer would be to pursue my master's degree, but the manifest reason was to pursue a degree, but to also explore what other opportunities were available to me here, and to gain experience in the public policy field. I've always been one to enjoy mostly drafting policies and regulations. I've always wanted to help humanity in whatever way I can, but I'm not so much of a frontliner. And so one way that I find myself very useful is being able to be part of rules and regulations and laws and acts that impacts the lives of people. And so that was what drove my passion to come and study public policy and public administration, and also gain experience in the forefront of policy in Canada as well, and then eventually go back to my country, my beloved country, Ghana, and also contribute my quota in terms of public policy in Ghana.
And thank you very much for this brief introduction. What actually triggered the decision to come to Canada in the first place?
So that's an interesting question. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and social work, and shortly after my bachelor's, I had always wanted to do a law program, but I got to do my national service with the legal department with National Lottery. Shout out to everyone in National Lottery Authority, where I worked with my boss called David. At the time, he's no longer with National Lottery, and he was an amazing boss. He actually pushed me and helped me find my passion for legal drafting. And so as I went along in my career as a legal assistant, I figured that even though law was my passion, I figured that I was more interested in policies. And so when I moved from National Lottery, I changed industry entirely. So I went to investment and finance, and I worked with bullion investment as a compliance officer, and then moved on to Glyco Capital as a compliance and legal manager. And as I was, involved in drafting internal and external policies, and also operational policies, standard of operations and all of that. And I figured that, with my day-to-day work in internal policies with finance, I knew that my passion didn't really lie with finance or investment. Sorry to say this if my boss ever gets to watch this back in Glyco Capital. I enjoyed my job regardless, but I noticed that my passion was more same field in terms of compliance and drafting of policies, but I felt my passion was geared towards social policies, and how can my expertise and my skills in drafting of policies rather impact the social problems we have and people we have, like in terms of children, in terms of people in jails, like prisoners and everything. And so I figured that I would pursue a master's degree in public policy and get more skills and knowledge in drafting policies that affect our social problems, in Ghana, and other countries and other nations as well. And so one of the reasons I decided to come particularly to Canada is that the school I attended, which is University of Saskatchewan, and the college was Johnson Shoyoma Graduate School of Public Policy, it's noted for one of its best policy programs, and it has an inbuilt internship program which is very competitive. And so once you get into that program and you get an internship, it sort of gives you a leadway into working for the government and also working closely with policies and policies that affect and impact individuals in the country. It could be children, it could be adults, it could be seniors, which I mean old people. And so I decided, and most programs didn't have that inbuilt internship program, and so adding to the fact that the cost of tuition for the university I attended is reasonably priced, even though the public policy college is noted for one of the best so far. And so that actually triggered my decision to want to come and have my master's done here, especially because of the program and because of my passion to want to now move from private practice and go into social policies.
That is awesome. Awesome to hear. And then it's like, before you set off for Canada, what were your expectations? What did you think Canada was going to look like? And
that's quite funny, because I mean everyone around me told me that Canada was cold, and when they tried to warn me Canada was cold, I'll tell them that, but there are people living there and they're surviving, and so why can't I survive if I should go there?
For sure, you will survive.
So I actually didn't really care about the weather. And then I hopped on a plane and got here. And in fact, first month was okay, even though it was pretty cold, because I got here in the fall, which was like September, just around this time. But then 2 months later, it started to snow, and the temperature started to rise. And oh my God, the first day I stepped out into the snow, I almost cried like a baby. It was so cold.
For sure.
So cold. I couldn't feel my hands. I couldn't feel my legs. It felt so numb. But nonetheless, it took time to getting used to. I would say that I still never get used to the cold, but you learn to adapt, and then you put your eyes on your goal. I'm always reminded of the fact that I'm here for a reason, and so not letting other extraneous factors distract me from why I'm here. So it's pretty cold nonetheless, but it's been good.
The reasons why we focused our attention on you is the fact that you came out one of the best students. And how was it? How was the process like? Because
I'm not sure I match up to that, but thanks for that anyway. I would say that nothing. It's there's a dip from Ghana and the standard of education we have, and it's totally different from what is here in Canada. Canada education is more practical, and it's very entailing. It's really, really demanding. And so even you do not just go to school and write exams, and the scores you get on your exams, it's the scores for the program. But a lot of things are factored in. Your participation in class, you're giving participation marks, you're giving marks for assignment, you're giving marks for maybe some research work you have to do, sometimes even some collaboration work you have to do in class. Like, the marks are so spread out that you have to be very involved in the program from A to Z in order to make it. So when I got here, my first, in fact, it's so interesting because I got down from the plane and I had to rush to a class because I came very late, and the day I got here I had a class that morning, and so I got here at dawn and quickly had to go and change. And so I was like the last person to enter my class that day. And then the lecturer who was taking the course for that day, she was very strict, and she didn't like support system. Not, the Bible says bad company corrupts good manners, and so find good company who would be your support system Because even in school, education-wise, you'd need good friends who you can study together, you can discuss questions together and be there for each other. And that really, really helped me. And then my family back home were always there. I could call my parents, my husband, my children. They were supporting me all the way through, praying for me, being there for me, sacrificing so I could achieve my dreams. And so I would say come and be determined, you know, do what you have to do, succeed, and have the support system that you need to. And we're here for all of you. You know, we are one big family.
Yeah, come over. Yeah, yeah. Arms are widely open, welcoming you. Everybody, come down here. And then another question here: what do you think the Ghana education system? How do you think we can structure it to make it equivalent to what we have here in Canada?
So I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in education or academia and educational structures, but one thing I would say is that there should not be interference by politicians with our education system. You know, one thing that has, you know, helped the Western countries is that the education is set aside from politics, and so they have one system, and the duty of a politician is to better the system and not to play politics with the system and change the system. And so you cannot have school being changed to 4 years at some point, and then another government comes and it's a sort of like a shift program where people go some months, some others go, some are called gold, some are called silver and bronze and
diamond
and whatever it is.
Bronze.
But we should not politicize our education, because education is so important, and our young generations benefit or suffer the implications of the decisions that is made through politicizing of our education system. And so we should stop that. There should be one standard and one system, and let's work at bettering and improving the standards, you know, and let's learn good things from people who have been successful in it, and not rather politicize the system. That's my only advice to Ghana education system.
And do you think it is the people that make it difficult for the government to make things right in Ghana, or it is the politicians themselves? Because knowing that most of them had the education from outside the country, right? So they know what to do, they know what to do. But at the end of the day, the expectation cannot be, you know, compared to what we are experiencing here. So what do you think is actual cause for that?
I would say I can't blame the leaders alone, and I can't blame the citizens. I would say it's both ways. We all have a responsibility to make our environment and our nation good. Now, it's said that you can have good leaders and bad followers. You can have good followers and bad leaders, and both of them have a way of influencing each other, right? And so you sometimes it takes a good radical leader to change or influence bad followers, and sometimes it takes good followers to change bad leaders. However, I would say that, you know, it's a canker that has eaten us up as a country. The leaders are not forthcoming. The leaders are greedy. Leaders are not doing what they're supposed to do, and then it has gotten to a point where even the citizens do not care, and they don't feel a responsibility to also improve and make things better for their country. And so it's become, you know, it's become a canker that has eaten both sides of the coin. And so I would say now that putting the blame on the leaders, which in fact the leaders have 70% responsibility, even more than the citizens. However, we all have our responsibility and our quota to share. And so I would say that it's all of was our fault because we keep putting the leaders there, you know, and then they also keep doing what they're not supposed to do and be greedy. And so it's either we don't put them there or we make them accountable for the actions they do. And it's also for leaders to change. If we want a better country, we have to change as leaders and we have to change as citizens. So it's both ways, I would say. Because one, I just to cut in Canada, you know, their rules and system works.
Yeah.
People are held responsible for the actions they do. Not only leaders, you know, leaders have to resign when they make bad decisions, and even citizens. I mean, as little as, you know, traffic offenses, you'll be made to pay fines or go to court or do things like that. Every single person, be it a leader or a citizen, is held accountable for their actions that they do. And so one day I was driving with a friend, and even we went shopping for groceries, and then
in Canada or in Ghana?
In Canada. And then when we finished shopping, we went to put the stuff in our car, and we're going back, and we took the cart, you know, back to where it's supposed to be. And then it just crossed my mind, and we're having a discussion. We're like, you know, what would push us to go take the cart back to where it is? It's because we know that rules work, and we'll be held accountable if we don't take it back. You get it? But meanwhile, probably in Ghana, I could have decided, you know, I'm going to leave the cart, and then the supermarket owners should figure out how to get their cart. You know, so it's a shift culturally, individually, and also a shift in leadership, making sure that enforcement is to the 100 degrees, where enforcement is not relegated to a set of people, but enforcement is also for leaders, and enforcement is also for citizens. When rules work, systems work, citizens are held accountable, leaders are held accountable, things will change.
Sure. This is interesting anyways. Sometimes I you know, like the scenario that you gave here for a shopping cart, you are not obligated to send it back to her, but because you have adopted yourself into the system of discipline, have trained your mental ability to do the right thing. So even if it has nothing to do with enforcement of law, your instinct tells you that no, this doesn't belong here. Exactly. I think this is the right thing to do. Exactly. I hope one day you go back to Ghana, and then or we would go back to Ghana, and then I wouldn't put all the. But you know, I think the problem is this: in Ghana, you realize that mistakenly somebody, you know, threw something on the street. You call the person and say, "Excuse me, please, can you pick it up?" Maybe you forgot about yourself, and then you just threw the thing on the street. Can you go and pick it up? The person would insult you, like, especially if you make a mistake and you speak English. Oh, Professor, you know, like, how are we going to push that spirit of servantism? Like, we have to serve our own self. We must all help. Responsibility. That responsibility. How are we going to be able to put that responsibility on ourselves and then make sure that things are done right? Yeah, that aspect is going to be a tough one, because if just a few people are held responsible for their actions and others are not held responsible for the same actions, that is when compliance becomes a problem. But if everybody is held accountable for their actions, because, you know, I remember even, you know, in Ghana, where you'd be driving, a policeman will stop you. If you say, oh, maybe I work in the Flagstaff house, they let you go. If you're just a commoner, you're made to pay bribe, or you're giving tickets. Oh, sorry, they don't give tickets in Ghana. Or you're taken to the station to pay some amount of money for some traffic offense you did. But if that person who works in the Flagstaff house and the same commoner are
meted out same actions, everybody would do the right thing, because everybody will know that, look, I'll be held accountable for the same actions irrespective of my status. And so people will find it's difficult complying to and that mental shift. Sometimes when you have a citizenry that have come to a point where nobody cares, you know, and there's no sense of responsibility, then that is where, excuse me to say, I don't condone violence, but that is where radicalism has to come in, where you need a radical leader who would make enforcement be so compulsory and so obligatory that when there's enforcement and everybody is held accountable for their actions, then when you see someone drop or litter an environment and you tell the person, pick it up, the person knows that if I don't pick it up, the next thing he or she is going to do is to go to maybe the nearest police station or the nearest metropolitan office and report me, you know, and I would be held accountable for my actions. The person would do it, but there is no sense of accountability, no sense of responsibility. And so when you have orderless societies and no accountability, compliance is zero.
One person that currently is doing marvelously well for the country is the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Honorable Henry Korte. Have you heard about this man and what this man is doing in Accra?
I have heard about him. I don't really know much because I would confess, I've been told, I just finished school. I've been so engrossed with school that I haven't really paid attention to politics.
I'll say very big thank you to our precious viewers. We appreciate you very much. Thank you for your time spent in watching this episode. I would like to also say a very special thank you to Mrs. Hanson Lomotey for honoring our invitation to have such a beautiful discussion with us. Please visit our YouTube channel and then subscribe, share, and then also click the notification bell so anytime we upload any video, you get a chance to also watch it.